I'm listening to Jewel, Pieces of You, and oh my gosh, thinking about The Greatest Generation and Pieces of You, you know, that's how the kids of the 50s and 60s grew up. You know, that's their thinking. That's so sad how they grew up. And like, we talk about whitewashing history and how terrible that is, and I feel like it's become very like weirdly misused and like annoying, but it's still a thing that happens. Everybody does it, and we say don't speak ill of the dead. And the Greatest Generation, the ones I can remember, living history, that generation had a big thing about that. So how are we supposed to know what messed up stuff their parents did and what we can avoid? Because we're not supposed to say anything bad about them, right? That would be mean to do. And then the Greatest Generation, and like, here's the thing though. The Greatest Generation raised the baby boomer generation. And there is some messed up stuff in that generation. We can all agree. That generation is, I mean, objectively just pretty messed up. They raised us, and they're like, you all are messed up. Like, you raised this. Do you realize we're like healing from you, and you're stuck in what they did to you? Right? It's like the Karen situation and like other stuff. Like, oh my gosh, please just listen to us. And maybe we just ought not to let any of them at the helm. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's just something about that generation that just maybe shouldn't be running things. I'm thinking we have this age limit of like 35 and up needs to be running the country. With everything as backwards as it is, maybe we need like someone in their 30s. I don't know. Maybe 40s or 50s. I mean, Gen X objectively is like not that messed up for some reason. So like the early boomers who had Gen X, maybe that was better. Like something was going on like the later the boomers went, maybe society just like did this like weird shift at that time. They just happened to be kids caught up in the tempest. I don't know. The Greatest Generation did some messed up stuff. They talk about the 50s being like a utopia. I'm just wondering if it actually was. Most people that I talk about who actually lived through it, their lives were not the best. They were objectively just like traumatized and abused like horrifically all the time. And also just the sheer amount of hate everywhere, like people who are different than you, and like, that Pieces of You, it just like cuts to the soul. I remember when that song came out, a lot of the boomer generation was like not liking Jewel because I don't know, they just don't like anything. I don't know. They're just a very angry people, right? It's just like some were fine, some came out of it okay, you know. There were those outliers, but I would say the majority, that's what made me think like maybe just like we can have high hopes that they can turn it around, but like maybe at some point we need to say, okay, like logically we could fix this and just be normal and like full of love and stuff. Like our generation, we don't do that stuff. We don't hate the other ones. I was raised to not hate the other ones, and like I feel like they were raised to hate the other ones, and then maybe they didn't like that about their upbringing, so they raised us to not hate the other ones. They didn't do it all bad. There's a lot of good that they did too, but I just feel like there's this overwhelming sense of like something's like off, something's wrong, something's not right, something's very angry there, something's very like hurt there, not being addressed, like very stuffed under the rug. Like, oh my goodness. Some of the things I've heard some of them say is quite shocking. Like child blaming for crimes and like just stuff it under the rug like we did. That worked well. Like, oh my gosh. It's just like, okay, I'm burning my butter again. It's just like, we will still love you. Like, just try not to do that crazy stuff anymore, you know? try to come back to the fold. You know, like, there's a reason for the God stuff. It's not just to look good on Sunday. I know a lot of you were brought to church against your will, but, like, maybe we don't need to be doing that to the next ones, you know. Maybe, like, free agency was kind of the whole point of the plan of salvation. Like, we were taught it in church. The church you didn't even go to because you, like, weren't taught that in church. I don't know. I do not know what the deal was, like, how the greatest generation raised you all. Like, I don't know. And there's forgiveness, though. I think if anyone can forgive, it's the freaking millennials or whoever else. Anyway. That was just a ramble. Really don't like to categorize people that much, except, I mean, there is something to your birth order, like when you were born, what you lived through, what you saw, you know. What you saw in your life, what you were able to do, the kinds of technologies available to you, like, I mean, when TV came out, there was a huge exposure to a lot of different kinds of things that we'd never seen before, and, like, I'm sure that affected everyone. So, anyway. I think my main idea was I was just so overwhelmed with, like, mourning and grief for what they had to endure, and they had to be like, that's fine. Yes, that was the best years of the entire country, the 50s. That was the best things were going on then. You know, that was the very best time. The best things were going on. Never mind all that crazy stuff. I mean, there were good things too, right? All right. There's good stuff now too. And I just think we could be a little more optimistic about it. I think we could be a little more like, you know what? We're going to do something radical this time. This time, we're not going to do the hate thing. We've tried that over and over and over like a cycle. We could try the not hate thing. We could try to live as children of God. Actual, like, God crusade, like, not the crusades, though. That was, like, backwards God. It's going to be, like, love, actually, this time. Love, actually. You know? We could try it. We could see. We could just build it up and think what a strong people we'd be if we just built stuff. We're creative. We're very innovative. We can think of stuff to do. And we can make cool stuff. And if you're spending your time bickering and stuff, you won't have time to do the cool stuff. So, like, we could just do love. Like, we could really just change right now and just, like, turn away. Be like, no, we're not going to use money. But, like, you have to reach your critical mass, right? One person does it, but, like, I feel like there has to just be some kind of consensus, and maybe we'll feel it. Maybe it'll just happen. I don't know. There'll be some kind of last straw or something. But we'll endure it and we'll get through it. We got to get that 11th season of Adventure Time and Islands and Distant Lands. That's, like, part of the thing that's crucial. It has to have the full story.
Was this her mom's